Alright guys, so we're back in the art room today, and today we're gonna do a lighthouse scene. We've done cityscapes, a snowy landscape, and I wanted to try doing something with the ocean. First things first, that's toning our paper here. And I'm using Bristol paper again. So you want to wear like a mask or something to keep all these fine powders from getting into your lungs. And we're knocking off all this loose charcoal powder. All right, so the charcoal powder has kind of settled. I think I'm gonna wear my mask for a little bit longer, just in case there's still stuff floating around. But right now I'm gonna start on my basic shapes, just kind of sketch out where everything's gonna be and start building this drawing up. So this is where my water is gonna be, but there's also gonna be like a, not so much a cliff, maybe a little bit, but like a piece of land where the lighthouse sits. So maybe this could be it, like right here. This could be where the lighthouse is gonna sit. But before I draw the lighthouse, I'm gonna start blocking in my lights and darks. The sky is gonna be up here, and we will give it like a hazy kind of look, like foggy or cloudy. Just seems to work really well with charcoal. Maybe this can be like the cloudy area where the tower is at, and it's just kind of illuminating the clouds here. Just getting like a very general idea of where everything's going to be at. And I'm like squinting occasionally to see what areas need to be lighter or darker, where I can add something. Not a lot of contrast normally, but I think for this lighthouse, I will make it stand out. Lately I've been posting these kind of like drawing tutorials, so I'm not doing anything too complicated, just sticking to like very minimalistic, simple stuff that I feel like most people can do if they just follow along, like a Bob Ross style video. All right, so I think that's good enough for now for a lighter area here for our sky. And now move on down here. So this can be, we've established this area as our land here, where the light tower is going to be. So this can be where the waves are kind of crashing up against this little peninsula. Waves and maybe fog or something just drifting in. I'm gonna have to soften this up too. You see a lot of like, you see all these lines, these scribbly marks. All right, so we got some waves kind of crashing in here, and I think I'm gonna bring maybe another coastline or beach here. The water can crash up against this area. Maybe I'll add some rocks and stuff later. I'm no lighthouse expert, but from photos and the ones that I have seen, seems like they're never up on the like nice beach area, you know. It's always like up against a cliff or like a rocky shore. at least from what I've seen. Somewhere up high. So since this is going to be like my waves, like sea foam, I kind of want some texture here, like that, some contrast between the lighter areas and dark areas, and just have a bunch of different values here. So it helps to, like my Kneaded Eraser, I don't want it too smooth, so I'm just leaving it like this weird funky shape with bumps and everything. I feel like it helps me get those kind of irregular eraser marks here. We're just adding to this whole waves crashing look here. So I blocked in most of my lighter areas. Now I'm just gonna smoothen everything out. Keep that soft look. All right, so now I'm gonna start my sketch, and I have my big old piece of charcoal here, this charcoal stick. And I'm just gonna do like a light sketch, like just kind of draw out where I want everything to be. And we're gonna work our way starting from like the back of the image in terms of like layers and layering to the front. So I mentioned I wanted some rocks down here. I'm gonna put some rocks right here. It's more like I'm sketching, but it's like a more of a suggestive sketch of where I want things to be. I'm gonna smear this too. Maybe some rocks over here. This is gonna be my landmass, my island or peninsula, whatever it is, where my lighthouse is gonna be. I'm gonna darken this up. I mentioned that I wanted this lighter area to look like maybe like where the lighthouse is just kind of illuminating some clouds. So I'm gonna darken up some of this area around it just to kind of really make that pop. I still don't want too much contrast. Takes away from the whole look that I want. And our ocean is going to be down here. I have never done like waves, so this is going to be interesting. So I do want the waters to look a little turbulent. I think for now I'm just going to block in this whole area, and then I'll figure out the details as I go. I know it doesn't look like much right now, but this is where we trust the process and just let it build up. Drawing is one of those things that I feel like I know, as much as people throw talent out there, and I do think that sometimes people are just really gifted with abilities to do things better or easier than some people, faster, I guess I should say. You know, like kids that learn to play the piano at a very young age. And I know when it comes to drawing and painting, it's kind of, it can be the same, but I do feel like a lot of the technical stuff can just be taught, you know? You can learn, and you learn by just doing it. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Okay, so it's gonna be the water. My piece of land here where the lighthouse is gonna stand. And then my lighthouse, I'm gonna do, I never like placing things like directly center of drawings, or at least I try to avoid it. So I'm gonna go just slightly off center, like right here. And we're still in the rough sketch mode, so I'll add a little more details and clear lines to that later. So now for the fun part, it's just smearing everything. Today I'm wearing gloves, but I should still be able to achieve somewhat similar look. So I'm just smearing along. So the gloves, or the gloved hand, it's actually doing pretty good. It's smearing everything. I was worried that it'd be like more sticky. But I think once I get some charcoal on here, then it just glides along. And again, like I want this area a little darker, but not too much. I just do this. I just kind of rub my hand against some of the dark areas, and I just kind of use that as like a palette. So whenever I draw, I like to kind of darken the edges just a little bit. Not the complete drawing, but like corners and stuff. It just looks really cool when I take this tape off. Charcoal drawing is still kind of new for me. By new, I mean I haven't been doing this for like years and years. I've been drawing and painting this stuff with other mediums for a long time, but I picked up charcoal about, I think going on about a year. But I do draw a lot, so on my days off from work, I'll come in the art room and just sketch. And I know you guys can't tell because I edit these videos, but I do take a lot of breaks. I'll come in here, smudge a section, step out for a little bit, come back in, and these videos are like maybe 20 minutes to 40 minutes or so, I think, on average. But throughout the day, I'll just kind of pop in and out sometimes. Sometimes I'll sit down in my art room and just take breaks in here, drink some coffee, doom scroll for a little bit, or read something, and then I'll get back to drawing. I don't want this to feel like work, so when it starts to feel like work, then it becomes less enjoyable. It just becomes like a chore. And I'll get it done, but that's not the point. The point for me is for it to be relaxing and enjoyable. So yeah, I take breaks when I need to. My body will tell me too, like I'm drawing upright, so it can be a little uncomfortable. That's already looking like something I can work with. And now, maybe I should smear this a little bit. I, for some reason, have never really liked drawing anything with straight lines. And I always get that, you know, people that comment on my drawings like, oh, I can't even draw a straight line. Well, me neither. You know, as an artist, I shouldn't say hate, it's a strong word. I just dislike straight lines. I love seeing it as far as like art and architecture. I love architecture, and yeah, there's a bunch of straight lines and all that, but for me to do them, I just can't. All right, so I'm going back to my Kneaded Eraser. This is a smaller piece, and it's like sticking to my glove here. And again, we're not doing like fine details just yet. We're just kind of like medium. This is like our next layer. So start building this up here. you get these random lines that, not really random because I placed it there, but that just kind of disturb some of the lighter areas. So I'll go back with my mono zero eraser and just lightly erase it. I don't really care to completely erase it. I just don't want it to stand out too much in some areas. And I'm not going to do it like a clean line, because then I'll have the same problem, but just the opposite, where it's just now a white streak instead of a dark one. So I'm just going to break this up. And a lot of these like unintended things just kind of make the whole drawing look cooler. Like that just added a little more, like some highlights there. So this Kneaded Eraser is like really sticky, but the more I kind of pull this charcoal out, it gets like this layer of charcoal on it. But I like that because then I can erase certain areas that I don't want too light. So for now, I'm going to keep it this way so I can work some of these areas. And then I'll knead it and pull some of the lighter areas again. So I do want these waves and fog to look like they're kind of crashing up against this piece of land here. I'm going at an angle, almost like a swoop, like they're just kind of going up this way, splashing up this way, just like that. It's a mix of like waves and maybe some fog creeping in here. So if you're drawing stuff like this, even if you're using like this video as like a guide, like it doesn't have to look exactly the same. It shouldn't, you know, it should be your own like interpretation. I think it'd be like impossible to create a drawing like this exactly the same, just the way the charcoal moves. I'm going back in this area because it's almost like adding layers. Now I'm adding more brighter areas. I just flipped my Kneaded Eraser over. So there is a little control as far as how much I want these areas to be lightened. And it all just depends on like how much pressure I'm applying to. So I'll like apply a little more pressure, lighten up a little bit. I'll apply more pressure if I want it to be lighter, and then just kind of ease up if I just want it just a little bit lighter. And I'm going to work on these waves now down here. So I'd already lightened some of these areas where I wanted the seafoam to be. Now I want a little more detail. Right now what I'm doing is I'm trying to make my eraser kind of clumpy, and you know, so some parts stick out a little bit more. That way when I erase, it just creates like a bunch of different lines, and some are more thicker, some are thinner, and it just helps me kind of chunk this up a little bit. And then I can flip it, because the whole thing is just kind of oddly shaped right now, this eraser. And I'll just do the same. And I feel like this is too dark here, so I'm going to add like some waves crashing. And for this, I'm just going to do like little circular motion as I'm erasing to make it look like the top of the waves. Again, I've never done this before, so I'm not sure if there's like a different technique or a better technique, but in my mind at least it makes sense to do it this way, because it looks almost like foamy. I have to consider like perspective too when I do this, since these waves that are crashing up against this area here, this is the foreground. I'm going to make these waves a little bigger. And maybe I'll add some back here too. And these waves are like an extra detail. But if you're drawing something like this, you can go as detailed as you want it. I just felt like this big dark area needed something. Yeah, that definitely helped. But since I added this wave, I can't just leave this part empty because it wouldn't make sense. If I got a big old wave like this, that means I gotta add some like swells in the background here somewhere. And again, because this is further back, I'm just gonna lighten this up a little bit. And I think I am gonna soften up this background a little bit, or this part. Since it's further back, it's a little more hazy looking. All right, so this area, although it's starting to create some depth, I do feel like I need to add some more to it. Like it needs more detail. So these waves are starting to hit the beach here, so I gotta make this look like it's just about to crash. I've never done like anything like this, not even painting. I've always drawn like people and just like random doodles. For the longest, I hadn't really connected on why I drew like people so much. Why people were like my main theme, or my, the thing that I drew the most. I just did, and I don't know, I just find like everybody's different and unique. Faces and everything's just so different with everybody. But on top of that, probably the more important reason that I feel like is the main reason, I guess, is that I just value life and people, and it maybe has something to do with what I do for a living, or maybe I chose what I do for a living because of it. I'm a fire captain and kind of sort of fell into that career by accident, actually. I was just looking for a job while I was going to college, and I applied for like this part-time position. Back in my day, didn't really need much to get started in the fire service. Well, anyhow, so I applied, or I saw an ad in the paper and I applied. Went through the whole process, the testing and interviews, and ended up getting hired. Didn't know anything about the fire service. I was thinking about being an art teacher at the time as a career. I've always had this like adrenaline junkie, risk-taking side of me. So yeah, I ended up getting this job, and I just remember my very first call was it was a pretty bad one. We were there to help, and we did. We helped somebody, and from that moment on, I was just hooked. The feeling, that feeling of helping somebody, of making a difference in somebody's life, that was just incredible. It was just a sense of satisfaction that I've never gotten, that I've never felt. It was just like nothing I've ever done before. And again, maybe I did have the sense of valuing people, and maybe that just kind of amplified the whole feeling of helping people. So yeah, I was like hooked, and then I just went like full force as far as doing what I needed to do to get hired full-time, because it was a part-time position. So when people ask, You know, are you an artist? Well, yeah, but I'm also a firefighter, a dad, someone that likes to go hiking, just a bunch of other things. I feel very fortunate to be able to do the things that I enjoy, because in my line of work, you see a lot of bad stuff, and you see that there's just a lot of people that don't have it as good as a lot of us do. Even the small things that we take for granted. I think that experience has definitely made me a very grateful man, a man that cherishes everything, the little things in life, nature, the outdoors, because I know how fast all of that can end for people, and then just how not everybody has that opportunity to be able to like do things, and it's heartbreaking. I wish everybody could. So yeah, kind of went off on a little side ramble or side conversation there about why I've always drawn people or portraits. While I was on my side quest there, I've been slowly building this wave up, adding like more contrast and some texture, trying to make it look more like a turbulent wave crashing while still maintaining some of its softness. And it's getting there. I think that as far as details go with this drawing, this is probably going to be the area that's going to require a little more work. So I'm going to take a little break from this area here, because I think I have enough dark areas. The next step will add some highlights to this part here. So for now, I'm going to move back towards my lighthouse, clean it up a little bit, and add some details. Have my little cheater stick here. Helps me just kind of keep things steady. Straight lines, again, just not my thing. But since it's charcoal, perfectly acceptable for me not to have perfectly crisp lines. Just makes it look better, I think. So this was my charcoal pencil for fine details, and then I used my Mono 0 eraser for any light areas that are detailed. So I don't know if you guys can see, there's like this chunks, I like to think of them, of charcoal powder just here. And a part of me wants to keep it, so maybe I won't get rid of them completely. Just keep some of it there. All right, so back to my Mono 0 for details. So as you guys saw, I built this whole drawing up in layers. I started with just some really big shapes, softened them up, and then added the next layer of details. Softened them up a little bit, but not too much. And that's kind of what I mean when I say working in layers. So that's just like a little swell in the background, and I'm going to fade that out just a little bit. And again, that's just how drawing is. It's just you draw, you step back, observe, see where something needs something, and then just adjust. So some of this lighter area that I'm seeing here, that you're seeing me kind of, it's also this kind of fog that's cruising in over here. So now just some details here, and I'm just adding like these lines. I'm gonna start off with this slightly bigger eraser than my Mono 0, and I'm like twisting and turning this thing as I'm going, because I don't want it to look like just solid lines, and by twisting and turning, I'm rubbing this eraser on some areas that have a lot of charcoal and in some areas that don't. I'm just trying to create like this kind of like a spider web kind of look here. It's looking a little more like waves, or like a wave. So I do need to make these rocks, because they're in the foreground, they do need to look clearer, you know, sharper edges, or the whole thing will just look like a photo that's just out of focus. And on top of making my lines a little more crisp, I need to make this area darker too, but not too much where it's just like this solid black area, because there's also some light here too, so I have to consider my light source. There's some light reflecting off these rocks. And then as far as your shadows go, like I know that like for this area here, wherever I'm putting down some of the charcoal where it's really dark, I know that's just going to be like the backside of something if my light source is there. So all these areas that I had already shaded in, these dark areas, this I knew was going to be like rocks or like land. These are definitely rocks. So rocks are not smooth. Well, they can be, I guess, but if these rocks here have been getting smashed by the wave, these big old rocks are, at least from what I've seen, kind of jagged. And I'm not worried about the bottom part, because this is just like the water down here like cruising in. I just need to finish these little details before I call it done. All right, so I talked about how this light source here is going to be touching up on these rocks here. So I'm going to make one side a little lighter. And I'm just going to add a little more black here just to, so it doesn't look like a sky, but it looks like an actual piece of land. Not too hard of a line, but just something to indicate that it's just not the sky, it's this body of land here. It's just something to separate this from that right there. All right, so I think calling this done. Now I just got to peel off my tape here.